Hello everyone, this is Shubham from Edureka. Today's session is all about what's new in Angular 4. This session is going to be really interesting, guys. So without any further delay, let's move on and look at the agenda for today's session. We'll first go through the Angular release and know about the release plan. Then we'll discuss about why is it not Angular 3 and why is it Angular 4. Then moving on, we'll understand what are the new features in Angular 4, and at last we'll go through a demo in which we'll learn how to upgrade an Angular 2 app to Angular 4. So are we clear with this agenda, guys? So everyone seems pretty much clear. Let's move forward. So let's understand how Angular 4 came into picture. But I would first like to tell you a story. Back in September, when Angular 2 was finally released, the Angular team also announced they will be switching to semantic versioning. As the name already suggests, semantic versioning is all about adding meaning to the version numbers. A semantic versioning consists of basically three numbers. The left-hand side number, this is for patch upgradation. So in patch update is basically for bug fixes, and this is not a breaking change. A breaking change happens whenever you as a developer or as a consumer of a library have to step in and adjust your code after a version upgrade. Then we have this middle number for minor upgradation. So if a new feature is added, you increase the second number, and whenever you release a breaking change, you have to increase this first number. So this first number is basically for breaking change, and the second and third number is not for the breaking change. The second is for minor upgradation and the third is for patch upgradation. Now, let me take an example for a clear understanding. For an example, even just upgrading Angular TypeScript dependencies from version 1.8 to version 2.2 and compiling it with Angular would technically cause a breaking change. So this time Angular community is taking this semantic versioning pretty much seriously, guys. So now let us move forward. So now this is the tentative release schedule for Angular. The fact that breaking change will arrive doesn't mean that they will arrive every other week. The Angular team committed to a time-based kind of release that occurs in 3 cycles. The first is patch releases, that is for every week. Then we have 3 months minor release after every major release. And then we have a major release which will be done in every 6 months. So as you can see here, guys, Angular 4 is released in March 2017, in the last week, I think. Then we have Angular 5, which will be releasing in September 2017. Then we have Angular 6 for March 18 and Angular 7 for October 18. So this is the tentative release schedule which Angular community has given us. Then let us move forward and look, why is it not Angular 3 and why is it Angular 4? So what happened? Due to this misalignment of router package versioning, the team decided to go straight to Angular 4. So as you can see here, we have dependencies, or we have the module, or you can say the basic Angular modules, which have version 2. As you can see that we have version 2.3.0 in this all Angular modules. But except in this router, we have Angular 3.3.0. So due to this, they thought that in this way again, all the core packages are aligned, which will be easier to maintain and help avoid this misconfusion in the future. So are we clear with this Angular 3 part? Why is it not Angular 3 and why is it Angular 4? But before moving on, guys, I'd like to tell you something. All Google applications use Angular version equal to the current GitHub master branch. You can say the Angular repository in GitHub. Whenever a new commit lands in master, it will be integrated with Google's single giant mono repository, because they have a mono repository for this Angular, where also other products such as Maps and AdSense, etc. are there. As a consequence, all of the project using Angular internally at Google will run these extensive test suites against new versions. This team basically makes sure that they are confident about the new Angular upgradation and they can easily incorporate those changes into Google. So thus they have an aligned version, totally makes sense, and it is easier to maintain them over time, which turns help the team to be more productive in releasing new updates. So the first feature of Angular 4 is smaller and faster. So before talking about smaller and faster, I would like to talk about JIT compiler, which is just-in-time compiler. So in JIT compiler, views take longer to render because of the in-browser compilation steps. The application is bigger because it includes the Angular compiler and a lot of library code that the application won't actually need. So what happens? The bigger your application is, longer it takes to transmit and are slower to load. So this is why JIT compilation incurs a runtime performance penalty. So on the second part, compilation can uncover many components template binding errors. JIT compilation discovers them at runtime, which is pretty much late in the process. On the other hand, we have AOT compilers, that is ahead of time compiler. It can catch the errors, or you can say the template errors, earlier and improve the performance by compiling at build time. There is actually one Angular compiler. The difference between AOT and JIT is the matter of timing and tooling. With AOT, the compiler runs once at build time using one set of libraries, but in case of JIT, it runs every time for every user using a different set of library. So the benefit is faster rendering, few asynchronous requests, you have smaller bundle size, or you can say smaller Angular framework download size. Then you can detect your template errors earlier, and at last you have better security while using this AOT compiler. Then the AOT compilation sets the stage for further optimization also, guys, and this is called tree shaking. So what happens in this tree shaking condition, guys? A tree shaker walks the dependency graph top to bottom and shakes out the unused codes like dead leaves in the tree. Tree shaking can greatly reduce the download size of the application by removing the unused portions of both your source as well as your library codes. In fact, most of the reduction in small apps comes from the removing unreferenced Angular features. For an example, in your demo application, you are not using Angular Forms library, so there is no reason to download Forms related Angular code, and tree shaking ensures that you don't. So basically, tree shaking and AOT compilation are separate steps. Tree shaking can only target JavaScript code, and AOT compilation converts more of the application to JavaScript, which in turns makes a lot of application tree shakeable. So coming back to the slide, guys, Angular community have made some changes in this AOT code which is generated. These changes basically reduces the size of generated code of your components by around 60% in the most cases. The most complex your template are, the higher are your savings. During the release candidate period, they found that the developers that are migrating from Angular 2 to Angular 4 reduce their production bundles by 100 of kilobytes. So let us take a look practically how they do that. We'll go to our Node.js CMD. I'll navigate to my directory. Now I'll create a project using Angular 4. So the command is ng-new and the project name is Edureka. And I'll use --ng4 to make sure that this is Angular 4 application. So now the application is created. I'll navigate to my application directory, that is Edureka, and now we'll install the dependencies using npm install command. Meanwhile, I will take you to my project which I just created. I would like to show you this package.json file. So in this package.json file, you can see that all the modules that are based on Angular 4, or you can say the version is 4. So this is the basically change, guys, in package.json, that your dependencies have upgraded to Angular 4 and all the dependencies are based on Angular 4. So the version is 4. So let us go back to our Node.js CMD. So now that dependencies have been installed, let us host this application. Okay, let us go to our browser now. We will go at localhost 4200. And this is the demo application, or you can say the sample application. So we'll close this application. So now using ng-build command, I will build this application. And I will add --AOT to use AOT compiler. So now let us go back to our folder where we created this project. We'll go inside the project, and this is the folder which is created, that is distributable folder. We'll look at the properties, and now you can see here that it has a size of 2.86 MB. So now what we will do, we'll go back. We will delete this distributable folder. Now let us open the project. I will change all the dependencies to 2. I will save this file. I'll go back to the Node.js CMD. Now I will uninstall the dependencies using npm uninstall command. Now I will clear the cache using an npm cache clean command. Now I will again install the dependencies using npm install command. So now that I have installed the dependencies, let us quickly go and host our application using npm install command. So let us go back to our browser again. Again, we'll reload this page, and yes, this is working. So now I'll just close this application, and again I will build using ngbuild command, and I'll specify the compiler as AOT. Okay, so that we have successfully built our application, we'll go back to our folder, and this is the distributable folder that is being created. So let us look at the properties of this folder. And now over here you can see the size of the folder is 3.25. So as earlier you can remember, using Angular 4, the build was approximately around 2.86 MB, and while using Angular 2, the build is around 3.25 MB. So you can look at the difference, guys. This is the difference. As you can see, guys, that the bundle size has been decreased, but as this is a small project, or you can say the demo project, so you can't see that much effect or that much difference. So are we clear with this smaller and faster part, guys? Okay, so everyone is pretty much clear. Let us move to our next topic, which is animation package. So now what has happened, that Angular community pulled this animation package out of the Angular core package and placed it into its own package. Or you can say this animation package is a new package. This means that if you don't use animation, this extra code will not end up in your production bundles. You can add animations yourself to your own ng module by importing browser animation module from Angular platform browser /animations. As you can see in this code, guys, that we are importing this animate state style transition triggers from this animation package, which has been moved out of this Angular core package, so that we can use this animation inside our code. I'll also take you through one of my project. I'll open a new project. So now inside this project, I'll take you through my TS file. So in this app component.ts file, you can see that we are importing the animation package from this Angular core. So this has been deprecated, so we are doing this, but now we should move this thing out. So I will cut all these packages from here, and now I'll place it into animation package. And I will import it from animation module, that is Angular /animations. Now I'll save this file and I'll go back to my package.json. So as you can see, we have imported this animation. You can use npm install and your @angular/animations command, and using --save, you can save it in your package.json file also. So I'll go back to my app component.ts file. Our trigger, state, style, animate, and transition from our Angular/animations. And over here, as you can see, we are including this animation decorator over here. And inside this, we are specifying the triggers, we are specifying the states, which is inactive here, and the background, we have given the hash code. And again, we are making a new state that is active. And again, we have given the background color and transformation for that. We have also given the transition, that is, while it is inactive, it will go to active, and while it is active, it will go again back to inactive. So are we clear, guys, with this animation package? So now let us move forward to our next feature, that is enhanced ng if and ng for. So now what is happening in this? Earlier, we are having this ng if command using which you can check any statement, but you don't have a else command, so you have to use the opposite in ng if again. But now Angular community has incorporated this else command also. So in this code, as you can see, we are using a ng if and we are checking for this user list and async as user. And if this statement is false, we'll go back to the else statement, which says loading. And this loading is basically a tag which will load this ng template as we have specified this loading block over here. So we have one more feature, that is assign local variables such as when unrolling an observable. So you can create a local variables, as you can see in this ng for statement. You are creating a user as a local variable, or while you are using an observables, you can also use a local variable to specify your observables. So let's go back to our code. So I would like to show you this ng if. Now in this template, you can see that we are using this ng if, and this is checking for the title. If the title exists, it will print the title with the interpolation, and else if this condition or if this title does not exist, it will load this loading block and it will print loading dot dot dot. So I'll save this thing. First we'll go back to our Node.js CMD and let us execute or host this application. So I'll first navigate to the application, that is Angular project, and I'll start this application using npm start. So now let's go back to our browser. So the title is Hello Angular and this is printing Hello Angular again. Let's go back to our project. So now I will change this title to title1, which does not exist. So what it will do, it will load the else part. I'll save this file, I'll go back to my browser, and as you can see guys over here that the title is printed Hello Angular, and in the second part it is printing loading. And this is because we don't have title1, so it is printing the else part which is loading. So are we clear with this else part guys, how this else part works? Great, everyone looks pretty much clear. So let us move back to our slide again. So now moving forward, we have form features. So now in this form feature guys, what is happening? We have reactive forms that are code-based counterparts of declarative template-driven forms. So you can easily create forms inside your templates using this ng form. Now let us take a look at this example so that we can clearly understand. Here we are creating a form. We are giving the name of the form is email form and we are binding it with ng form. The type of the, or you can say the input type is email, and we are binding it using ng model, this input type. We are giving the field as required, so you cannot leave this email input type empty. Then we are binding this name with email. At last we are giving an input button, that is submit, to validate this email. Now what is happening here, we have an email validator in this form which will automatically validate these emails. So earlier what we were using regular expressions to validate those emails, but now it is pretty much easier with email validator to validate those emails. So this has been easier, and this email validator has been introduced in our form features. Now before moving on, I would like to tell you one more change that has been done in Angular 4. All the documentation samples have been realigned with the default folder structure of the Angular CLI. So now all the samples have been moved to source folder as the project root. The former app folder is now moved inside your source folder. Basically, your app main.ts file has moved inside your source main.ts file. Then your app directory has moved inside your source folder, which is a source/app directory. And you are placing all your codes, or you are building all your codes inside this app directory. Inside your source folder, you have your index.html file, you have your style.css, you have .ts.config.json file. You also have a systemjs.config.js file, which now imports main.js instead of app. And at last, we have also added a light server configuration file, that is bsconfig.json file, to serve our source folder. So are we clear with this new alignment of the structure, guys? Okay, Thomas says clear. Michael says all clear. Okay guys, let us move to our next feature, which is TypeScript compatibility. So now in this TypeScript compatibility, TypeScript has been moved to 2.1 and 2.2. So in 2.2, we have some changes like DOM APIs in the standard library. Then in 2.1, we have extended built-in functions like error, array, maps no longer working. The generated code, or you can say the generated constructor code substitute the return value of super call at this. So there are pretty much changes in TypeScript 2.1 and 2.2, or you can say there are pretty much upgradations so that you can use it easily. So earlier, your Angular 2 was built on TypeScript 1.8. So now to use TypeScript 2.1 or 2.2 compatibility, you have to build your Angular 4 with 2.1 or 2.2. So this is what the Angular community did. They compiled Angular 4 with TypeScript 2.1 and 2.2 so that you can use the TypeScript 2.1 and 2.2 features inside your Angular 4 projects. Now, doing this, they have improved the speed of NGC and you will get a better type checking throughout your application. Basically, NGC is a drop-in replacement for TSC, which is a TypeScript compiler, and is configured much in the same way. NGC requires its own tsconfig.json file, which is TypeScript configuration file, and you can also use tsconfig.json file with your AOT oriented settings. So are we clear with this TypeScript compatibility? Okay, everyone looks pretty much clear. Now let us move forward to our next topic, that is source maps. So first, I would like you to know what is source map. A source map is a file that maps from the transformed source to an original source, enabling the browser to reconstruct the original source and present the reconstructed original in the debugger. Now when there is an error caused by something inside your templates, we generate a source map, or you can say the Angular generate a source map that gives a meaningful context in terms of original templates. So what is happening actually over here, if you are changing something in your template and that generates the source map, so while you are changing something and it is generating an error, your source map will generate a meaningful context in terms of your error so that you can understand your error pretty much easily, and it will just point out to your original template where the error has been occurring. So we'll look at this example. We'll go back to our code. So now let us go to our app component.ts file and I'll open my Node.js CMD. Now, as you can see, what I'll do, I'll just remove this component and I'll save this file. Okay. So now let us go with npm start command. So we got an error as we were expecting. So the error says that in the line 9 and the second word, that is component, cannot find this component. So this is the error, and as you can see, this is exactly reflecting from your TypeScript file. So let us go back to our file and you can see this component, this is in red. What it is saying that your component has not been referred or you haven't imported your component from your core. So if you will import your component from your core, you will remove this error. Okay, so as you can see that the error are pretty much giving a meaningful context. So this is the change that has been done with the source maps. So before moving on, I would like to say that Angular community is doing a pretty good work because they have been showing us the error, or you can say that they have been showing us the exact error that we are going through. So now let us move forward to our next topic, which is packaging changes. So first we have flat ES modules, or you can also call it as FESM. So they now ship flattened version of our modules. This format should help tree shaking, and it helps in reducing the size of your generated bundles and speed up your build, transpilation, and loading in the browser in certain scenarios. So as we just talked about tree shaking part, so this is basically for helping your tree shaking part, so that you don't have to create a large project, or you don't have to create this large size of bundle when you can create a smaller size of bundles, so that you can easily speed up your builder process, transpilation process, and it would be easier for your client to load it inside the browser. Then we have this experimental ES 2015 build. So what they are doing here, they are shipping a package in the 2015 flat ESM format. This option is experimental and opt-in. So basically they are just testing this package that will it work fine or not. So developers have reported up to 7% bundle size saving when combining these packages with rollup. To try out these new packages, configure your build tool chain to resolve ES2015 property in your package.json over the regular module property. Then you also have experimental closure compatibility. The closure compiler can use data type information about JavaScript variable to provide enhanced optimization and warnings. JavaScript, however, has no way to declare types. Because JavaScript has no syntax for declaring the types of variable, you must use comment in the code to specify the data type. So the closure compiler's type language derives from the annotations used by the JS docs document generation tool. All our code now has closure annotations, making it possible to take advantage of advanced closure optimization, resulting in smaller bundle sizes and better tree shaking. So are we clear with this packaging, guys? How this experimental ES2015 build is working and how is this flat ESM, or you can say FESM module is working with our Angular 4? So now guys, let us move to our next topic, which is pretty much interesting, that is upgradation to Angular 4. As we just discussed in this session, you don't have to rewrite your application to move from Angular 2 to Angular 4. You just have to install your dependencies based on Angular 4. So these are the steps that you are installing your dependencies, that is Angular common at the latest, which will give you the latest Angular common module, then which will give you the latest Angular compiler module. Similarly, you are updating all of your modules to your latest versions, that is 4. So we'll do this in a while, guys. So let us move forward to the next slide, which is creating an Angular 4 application. So we have worked with this command, guys, ng new Angular 4 demo and --ng4. So earlier we used ng new command to create a new project using Angular CLI. The only change is you are using --ng4 to create Angular 4 application. Otherwise, you can do one thing also, guys, that you can upgrade your Angular CLI using npm install @angular/CLI @latest, so that you will globally install your Angular CLI to version 4, and then if you're creating a project, it will create it on Angular 4. So are we clear with this, guys, how to create a project using Angular 4 or how to create a project using Angular CLI? Can you guys give me a quick confirmation so that we can move forward? Okay. So everyone is pretty much clear. Thank you for acknowledging, guys. Let us move forward. And this is the pretty much interesting part of our session, that is upgrading an Angular 2 application to an Angular 4 application. So now let us go to our project which I created. I'll open the project. Okay, so this is our project. I'll go to the package.json file. As you can see here that we have all the dependencies that is on Angular 2. So we'll go to our Node.js CMD. So we'll first host this application and look at it using npm start command. Now let us go back to our browser. So as you can see, this is our project. This is a basic directive project. So here we are using directive. If we are changing the color, the highlighting color is changed. So let us get back to our Angular CLI. We'll stop hosting this project. Now we'll upgrade all these dependencies to Angular 4. So I'll use npm uninstall command to uninstall all the dependencies first. Now I'll clean the cache using npm cache clean command. Now let's move all our dependencies to Angular 4. So I will use npm install. First one is Angular common. And I will use @latest so that it could get Angular 4 dependencies. Then we have Angular compiler. Similarly, we'll update all the Angular modules that are present here. And at last, I will use --save to save it inside our package.json file. So now let's go back to our package.json file. And as you can see over here, all the dependencies are upgraded to Angular 4. You can do it manually inside this package.json file, but I would suggest you to do it using your Node.js CMD so that you can get the latest package that has been used. So again, we'll go back to our Node.js CMD. We have installed all the new packages. So now we are going to host this application using npm start. And yes, it has been successfully hosted. We'll go back to our browser. Okay, so we'll reload this address again. And yes, we have successfully migrated our Angular 2 app to Angular 4. And this thing is working completely fine, as we can see. So it is pretty much easier to upgrade from Angular 2 to Angular 4. And you can also compare it with Angular 1 to Angular 2, that is from AngularJS to Angular 2. It was a complete rewrite, and in this situation, you just have to upgrade all your dependencies. Yes, there are some deprecations, but that deprecation won't matter for now. You can upgrade those instances in a while. You don't have to upgrade it immediately, but yes, you can do it in future. So are we clear with this upgradation part, how to upgrade an application to Angular 4? Okay, so everyone is pretty much clear. Let us move back to our slide. So I hope you must be clear with this Angular 4 and what are the new features in Angular 4. So are there any questions, guys? So everyone seems pretty much clear, guys. But if you have any queries, you can reach Edureka support team 24/7. The email address is support@edureka.co. They are available 24/7. So thank you everyone. Have a nice day.
I hope you enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply to them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos in our playlist and subscribe to our Edureka channel to learn more. Happy learning!